Hello, students. My Last Duchess by Robert Browning. This poem is in the syllabus of BA Part 3, Paper 1, that is Poetry and Drama, DDU University Seeker. I'm Dr. Sunita Jakhar, Associate Professor in English, Government Arts College, Seeker. Something about Robert Browning, who lived from 1812 to 1889. He was a Victorian poet, often considered the master of the form of dramatic monologue. During Browning's time, Browning societies emerged from various reading groups. These societies regularly discussed the works of Browning. It is an indication that the poet was famous during his lifetime. Most important event of his life was meeting Elizabeth Barrett in 1845. Elizabeth Barrett was a Victorian writer too. Browning was also regarded as a sage writer as he discussed contemporary social issues. Browning's first work was Pauline, a fragment of a confession which was published anonymously. It was a tribute to Shelley. In the slide on the right side is a picture of Robert Browning. He was much ahead of his time, that is, he supported emancipation of women, opposed slavery, championed animal rights, was influenced by art and atmosphere of Italy. Secretly, he married Elizabeth Barrett. Here is a list of some major works by Robert Browning, to name a few. First, My Last Duchess, which is also covered in this presentation, Fra Lippo and Del Sarto, The Last Ride Together, The Pied Piper of Hamelin, Porphyria's Lover, Soliloquy of the Spanish Cloister. Now the poem My Last Duchess. Some features about the poem. It is a dramatic monologue. Now, a dramatic monologue is in which there is a persona or a character who is not to be identified with the poet. The persona is the speaker and there is a silent listener. While reading the poem, we feel that the speaker is addressing the poem to someone who does not interfere the speaker. The poem My Last Duchess was published in Dramatic Lyrics in 1842. The setting of the poem is Italian Renaissance, that is 15th and 16th century Europe, transitioning from Middle English period to modern period. Important locales are Tuscany, Florence, and Venice. The poem is often described as, I quote, a five words tragedy, unquote. Now, before we begin the analysis of the poem, The Last Duchess, I would like to tell you something about the poem, from where Browning got its inspiration. So it was the inspiration, the source of inspiration was the Renaissance Duke, whose name was Alfonso II of Ferrara, whose young wife Lucrezia died in suspicious circumstances in 1561. The setting, as I've already told you, is Italian Renaissance, and the poem comprises rhyming pentameter lines. Now, the summary in short. The speaker in the poem is an Italian Duke of Renaissance period. The Italian Duke, a widower, is speaking to the confidential agent of a count whose daughter he proposes to make his second Duchess. The Duke shows the portrait of the Duchess and talks about her. Now, without much ado, let's come to the text of the poem. Now, first the first 10 lines. It is not possible due to the paucity of space in this presentation to go word by word and line by line. So, I'll just cover the important lines, the analysis of important lines in each stanza. So, here when the poem begins, the Duke, while showing the painting of the erstwhile Duchess, mentioned Fra Pandolf by design to evade the connotation that perhaps she flirted with the painter. The Duke further says it wasn't only her husband that made her look so attractive. He says that she was interested in everything and everyone, not only the Duke, as he seems to have wanted. It shows the egoistic nature of the Duke, who was also possessive and jealous. He was annoyed because she treated everyone with equal attention. And here, students, you can imagine how jealous the Duke must have got to see and to know that the Duchess treats everyone equally. Now, all kinds of favor, even like riding the white mule on the terrace, would bring the same kind of blush and approving speech from the Duchess, and this further makes the Duke jealous. The Duke found it fine to be grateful to other men, but he was annoyed, for she treated his gift of an ancient aristocratic name as good as other gifts. The Duke says, even if he was skilled at talking, it wouldn't have been worth speaking his mind to her and letting her know that, I quote, this disgusts me, unquote, or I quote, you went too far, unquote. Even if he had done this, it would have been stooping on his part. There's a shift in the tone as a duke asks the envoy to leave. The Duke wants a handsome dowry. On the way out, the Duke asks the envoy to look at the bronze sculpture of Neptune taming a seahorse. It is also symbolic of masculinity and Duke as a wife tamer. For this presentation, I have collected ample e-resources from Google search engine through which I could access countless sites. So a big thank you to all the e-resources I consulted, and thank you students for staying with me throughout the presentation.